together with Daniele Vergamini, which actually is a colleague from UniP, University of Pisa. Me and Daniele are leading the work package 5 in AGROMIX, which is about supply chain implication of mixedness and mixed and agroforestry system. What we would like to present today is some conceptualization of mixedness in the light of such ecological framework, and then we are happy to present on our empirical analysis, trying to use farm accountancy data network data to actually have a measure, something like that, or try to understand the diffusion of mixedness typology of farm, and then some performance that those different farm typology may have, and then some slide about discussion with the focus on implication for resilience and some implication for better account for the future of farm sustainable data network, which is actually a challenge that is an ongoing challenge. So if you can see my screen, what I show here is our conceptual framework that we did at the beginning of our analysis in order to try to conceptualize how a farmer actually can take a decision toward a diversification and a mixedness strategy, considering the interplay with the different, with the environment, with the ecosystem, and then with the value chain network. So based on our conceptual framework, we present as this decision as a choice between two opposite strategy, actually two extreme situation. One is a simplification and a forward integration within a value chain with issue like power, bargaining power, linkages with other actor, governance, trust, some element that actually can qualify this decision. And then the second one is about increase the complexity of the farm and then try to establish some feedback relation with the ecosystem and with the use of natural resources. So based on that, we frame mixedness as a strategy which actually can be explained actually through a result by interplay between some cognitive, social, dispositional factor that explain farmer behavior, and then integration within the system in terms of resource use, connecting different actors, and sharing practice. And especially the system integration, now I move in the next one, is something that can create, the spatial and the network integration is described in this slide, where, for example, we focus on how the actor can interact, and then starting from a coexistence of different things, then move to complementarity, to local synergy, and then to final territorial synergies in order to actually create interlink with the other actors, with the neighbor within the region, and then also, as you can see, are moving from the different layers, also try to create different, or actually establish some connection also in a value chain perspective. So together, those two graphics are already, let me say, published in our deliverable, in the first deliverable of this work package, and then which actually we consider this activity as a baseline for frame further analysis in order to understand what is going on in the supply chain for a mixedness, let me say, typology of farm. The second, maybe I can reduce, okay. The second part of the presentation is about the empirical analysis, and then we try to move from the concept that we have highlighted before to some empirical exercise, and then we use actually we asked and then we receive the data of FADN data, farm accountancy data network data, and then we try to classify the farmers that are in those data set in accord with the definition or the empirical definition of farming typologies or mixed farming typology that has been done in the other work package of AGROMIX, especially in work package 1 and work package 3. So in our empirical analysis, actually the key issue is the identification of a mixed typology, which actually based on this one, this triangle, can be arable agroforest, silvopastoral, mixed farm, or agro-silvopastoral system. And then using the data that we had in terms of inputs, what kind of input, external and internal productive factor they apply, we try to have an estimation on technology and production function there. And then we measure some output in terms of farm production or the grain food activity. But what we don't have, and then it's the third point, is something about non-marketable goods for those mixed system. So in our analysis, we presented the 4 different diffusion of those typology according to the FADN data. FADN data is a large database of farmers, is actually is unbalanced panel data, so it means that has been repeated observation for many years in some farmer and some other not, but actually they try to have a representation of NATSU at NATSU level, at least for main EU country. And then based on this information, we try to depict what is the current share of those farmers, is the blue part, the part in the left, of those mixedness farm typologies. And then in the graph in the right side, in the yellow or in red, is the changing over time. What we observe here is that, for example, some demixing, a reduction in complexity, diversity, and the mixed system is more or less an ongoing in many parts of EU, as you can see by the yellow part in those graphs. The picture is actually is more complex than how we assumed, with some area, for example, in Eastern Europe, where previously highly mixed, but now is reducing, while other, actually still according to our data, which actually was not, actually in the contrary, gain complexity and diversity, for example, in part of Greece, in northern Portugal, in the Alpine area. Yeah, actually this was one of the first results about the diffusion, and then we measure for those 4 typology some performance in terms of differences in the use of input, in the outcome, for example, or in terms of efficiency. What we observe there is that for agro-silvopastoral, silvopastoral system, actually they are more large in terms of usable agricultural area and in terms of labor input used. In terms of asset value, mixed farm show higher, so statistically different, is with a higher performance, while agro-silvopastoral lower. In terms of income per worker, those who has a statistically significant better performance is arable agroforestry. And then in terms of net worth, agro-silvopastoral, silvopastoral show higher performance. Investment, indeed, this was expected. Mixed farm, so a combination of livestock and arable show positive highest performance. And this was quite surprising in terms of efficiency, meaning input-output ratio. Agroforestry is the one with the best, higher efficiency compared to the other, agro-silvopastoral, silvopastoral less. Then some implication of our activity. The first one is about you mentioned it before, as you mentioned before, about the term of resilience, and then try to look with the lens of socio-ecological system, we found that perhaps something that was incomplete, actually, especially we found some need to expand the concept of resilience. So, for example, a resilient farm in terms of diversification, for example, or can be in a not resilience territory, or in terms of network. For example, one farmers that is not resilience can be engaged, so it's strongly specified, going with specialization and the forward integration, but is included in not resilient supply chain or not resilience network. So this will be something that should be taken into account. And then actually using this approach of a socio-ecological system, actually, and try to combine emerging literature in terms of farm resilience, which actually is well described also in the sister project or sister AGROMIX project, in terms of robustness, adaptability, transformability, but it should be also somehow included some element of territorial and network resilience. In terms of territorial resilience, the focus of whether one area can be resistant, can be recovered, or can be reorientated or renewal after a shock. While in terms of network, this is even a younger way to a new emerging literature in terms of redundancy of the connection among the different actors, in terms of diversity of the connection among the different supply chain actors, in terms of modularity of the different part of the supply chain. I guess this is the integration of the different concepts is quite interesting, of the different concept of resilience. It's quite interesting to really understand what is going on and how to apply it to mixedness farm or mixed farmers. Something more precise about the empirical analysis that we had is that we did this kind of classification, but with a strong data limitation, because we in FADN have a kind of rigid definition of land use, especially poor quality of data for forestry, trees, or a combination of arable and trees actually together on the same field. And another issue that we reflected on that is that it is possible to have some data or some interpretation of specialization and diversification, but what is still missing in the existing farm FADN data is whether it's possible to understand the integration process which is going on. So, for example, agro-silvopastoral system can be classified is classified that we consider one which is very resilient is classified with specialized livestock, for example, or vice versa. You have two mixed farms classified based on the income criteria, but actually they are not integrated each other, are simple two different parts of the same farm, but with no integration, with no feedback among them. So, and another challenge, the last point, is that for farm sustainability data network, one issue is to interoperability of the data with other data set, but especially for Lucas land use database, which actually it could be interesting exercise that we are trying to implement in AGROMIX. But there's an issue of sensitive information, location actually, and other like that. One issue is to add a new land use typology, for example, whether there is crop and tree on the same plot, which actually is not included. And the last point is about the possibility to have some information about the input origin. So in order to account the local and spatial interaction, which actually is a relevant part of the story to explain the integration of the territorial cohesion in the area. So that's all from my side, and thank you, everybody.